Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. And the movie I like to talk about today is Get Carter, and this stars Michael Caine, directed by Mike Hodges, released in 1971. And this was voted by some British group as the best, all-time best British gangster film. It certainly made a big impression on me in 1971. Of course, I was by that time a big Michael Caine fan. This is Caine at really the height of his A-list movie stardom, and it's a brutal gangster film, to be sure. In fact, it was far brutal than what I had remembered. The story involves we start off with the meeting by London gangsters, and Michael Caine is talking to his superiors. His brother has been killed, died apparently accidentally in a car that drove into a river while he was drunk. Michael Caine, playing Jack Carter, isn't buying it. His superiors, however, are worried that Carter will cause havoc when he goes up to Newcastle, which is where he had grown up. A rival gangster. There's no war between these two gangs, and their desires to keep the peace. And they know that Carter, who is evidently their hitman, their killer, is going to shake up this peace truce that they have with the Newcastle gang. But he's determined to go up because he doesn't buy this, that his brother was drunk, whiskey, never drank whiskey, and to drive his car into a river accidentally, suicide. None of it adds up to him. So he goes up to Newcastle, his hometown, to discover what went wrong and to attend to his brother's funeral. His brother has a daughter, a teenage daughter, Doreen. And one thing, and Michael Caine says this in the extras, that Michael Caine learned growing up, because he grew up in a rough area, and he knew gangsters, and he said the one thing, they were ruthless, and he wanted this film to portray the ruthlessness, the mercilessness of gangsters, and not a sentimental view of gangsters. But he said they always had this kind of sentimentality towards their family. So Carter is worried about his teenage daughter and tries to help, but she doesn't really seem to be all that needful of his help. But then as he infiltrates the various gangsters who all know him, all know Carter, and they're worried about him, and they'd like to see him be satisfied with what happened to his brother. But Carter soon finds out that his brother, that the story they're giving him about his brother is not true. And so then he has to find out, why would they want to kill his brother? Because it's not made explicit, but his brother was not actively involved in the gangs. So this is a quest story, and Carter is, and we see things from his point of view, at least as far as finding out the truth. And when he does, this quest story that we get very involved in becomes a revenge story. And again, there's no mercy here. This is a brutal revenge that he exacts upon the people he believes to be responsible for his brother's death. So this is a character that Michael Caine is playing that he couldn't even be called an anti-hero or an avenging angel. He'd be an avenging dark angel, I guess. So what is so compelling about this story, and why should we watch this? To see a brutal gangster seek his revenge on other brutal gangsters. Well, the story is really propelling. I mean, it just moves along at a pace, and we want to understand what happened as well as Carter does. It's filmed on location in Newcastle. I think everything in this film was filmed on location. It has a very authentic feel to it. Hodges had come out of a documentary background, and he brings that quality to his filming of Newcastle, but he doesn't emphasize. That's one thing I like about Hodges. He never presents himself, as this great director, as far as when you're watching the film. But I think that works fine, So he never won awards through his own career, but he's got that look. He's got that documentary feel. He started as a documentarian, and so we see all this sort of as one remove. We're basically making a documentary of what a brutal gangster would be like. And but I think one of the main reasons why this movie is compelling is Michael Caine, his persona, his movie star persona. So Hodges had made documentaries. He made a couple of TV movies, but he never worked with a star. And Michael Caine, by 1971, he was a big star. He was a name, and he was very. He could almost instantly get identification from the audience with whatever character he was playing. And I think the first time I saw him was in Alfie in 1965. But it might have been the Ipcress File. I forget which was first, but the one I remember first is Alfie, in which his persona, Caine has many personas, where he plays comedy and he talks directly to the audience. And we get so involved with Alfie's love life, which would probably be seen as problematic by modern standards. But he's so engaging, so funny, so ironic. And we get caught up in his sexual adventures. The Ipcress File, we have the cool Michael Caine, he's laconic and he sizes up everybody. That was Harry Palmer. I think he played Funeral in Berlin and $1 Billion Brain, two sequels to the Ipcress File. The latter directed by Ken Russell, one of his, and the strangest of that trilogy, and one of Russell's forays into trying to make commercial films for big studios. And here we get the Michael Caine that you can kind of be scared of, and yet you can never take his eyes off him. This is the dark side of Caine, Caine's persona. And I mean, he's still with us, and he had such an incredible, he claims he's retired now, but he's had such an incredible run as a movie star. And then because his persona can engulf all different kind of characters, as one of the great character actors, I think, of all time in cinema. There isn't a whole lot of actors that at least American audiences know. Britt Eklund is in the film briefly and basically for eye candy, which he supplies very well. There's Ian Hendry, who is known as, and well known in British TV and cinema. In fact, he was in the original Avengers series. It was him and Patrick McNee were the stars of the Avengers before Diana Rigg came along. His career, it's well noted in the commentaries that his career was stifled by his alcoholism. There's another actor in here who was very famous, but not as an actor, and that's John Osborne. He plays one of the gangster heads that Caine confronts about his brother's death. Now, Osborne looked back in anger in the late 50s. He was the original angry young man of the kitchen sink dramas. He would later win an Academy Award. Excuse me. An Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay in Tony Richardson's Tom Jones. He won a Tony Award. He wrote a great play called Luther, which I saw in a regional theater production. So so there's not a, but this is Michael Caine's movie, really. I mean, the other actors are just, they're just sidelines. And This came out in July, I think, of this year, but I believe it is a reissue. It looks absolutely fantastic in Dolby Vision, which is the way I watched it, and comes with a slipcase, same artwork on both sides, and it comes with great extras. I mean, just incredible extras. Two commentaries, one with Mike Hodges, the director, Michael Caine, and the cinematographer, Wolfgang Szynski. And this is more, it's mostly Mike Hodges, and it's very scene specific. Hodges is gives great commentaries. There's also more recent commentary with Kim Newman and Barry Forshaw. And of course, they rove, with their encyclopedic knowledge of movies, they rove far from the movie, but it's nevertheless a terrific commentary. Kim Newman always gives good commentary, so that's a real plus to get two. And you get Michael Caine. He doesn't say a whole lot, but and he says how amazed he is that I guess this was from 2022. I think it was in a brief introduction he gives to the movie, where he says that 50 years ago he had no idea that this movie would be, it wasn't all that praised, and there wasn't that big commercial hit in it in 1971, but then 50 years later, through those years, it became a big cult movie. So then we get it's probably the best thing in the movie, in the extras, is about an hour interview with Mike Hodges from just a few years ago, where he goes through his whole career with special emphasis on Get Carter. Hodges' career is really interesting. I really admire him a lot as a director. And I've done videos on The Terminal Man, his adaptation of Michael Crichton novel. And then he did Buck Rogers, and that, Solitaire Ronin, his all-time favorite movie, which is just a joy. And he had a joy making that film. So he moves around from into different genres. He is a great stylist. His mise-en-scène is really good. He may not be in the top rank of directors, all-time directors, but he's one of those films always are interesting to watch. Little details that he adds to films. Like when I watched with the commentary, I saw a few elements that I missed in the mise-en-scène, and they really add to the color and flavor of the movie. That's one thing I think Hodges really is good at. It's getting to the flavor of what we're seeing. It's a very rich visual style without drawing attention to itself. Also in the commentaries, there's a feature on Roy Budd, who is the composer. He didn't compose a lot of film scores, but it's a very unique, very memorable score, sometimes very minimalist. And then also an interview with the actress Petra Markham, who played Doreen. She was actually in her early 20s playing a teenager in the movie, and she's very evocative of the period of the swinging London. She's in Newcastle, which doesn't seem so swinging. It seems very dark, very grimy. But and that's very interesting to see. She didn't have any extensive film career, but she was in quite a few movies, television shows. But it's interesting to see her, because this was filmed just a couple of years ago, to see what it was like in the early 1970s for an actress to break into films, and she's a really good interviewer as well. So, Get Carter. I love this movie when it came out. I think I went to see it a couple times in its original release. Seen it a couple times through the movies. It really stands up well. It is brutal, but it is a very compelling movie. So that's 3 videos in 1 week. I don't know what's going on here. I'm feeling better. So there may be more coming very soon. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who listened. I do appreciate it. Take care.